market rising 78 points to 23,147.90, and that's 5.39 trillion now of the market cap. Now, the market recorded 47 gainers against 21 losers. Now, some of the biggest gainers yesterday came from First Bank, which went up 4.3%, while Stanbic IBTC and Oceanic Bank rose 5% and 4.9% respectively. Wema Bank also rose by the maximum allowed, which is 5%, as well as on the flip side, we had Intercontinental Bank dropping by 5%. On the other hand, we had Transcorp trading 69 million units, and there appears to be really no news moving that stock. Perhaps we'll try to get an update from our Nigerian guest when they come online to explain what's happening there. In other sectors that we saw yesterday, Starcoms and RT Briscoe rallied during the session 4.9% and 4.5% respectively. Now, to get what's happening in that market, let's cross over now to Lagos to chat to Kayode Akindele, is Greengate Strategic Partners. Kayode, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
So the market in the black yesterday, very nicely indeed. The banks, as we saw, accounting for most of the turnover. Can we look for any sort of a direction from here on, given the concerns that we're having, and also we're hearing people talking about Nigeria eventually shrinking the total number of its banks from the current 24 to around 14 banks in the future?
I think what we're seeing is that a lot of investors are looking at the banking stocks, just as you said, because there's an expectation of merger and acquisition activity, especially in light of the conclusion of the present audit and the belief in generally among analysts that some of those banks will be taken over by some of the stronger banks. And I think one big signpost is the year-end results of December this year, where all the banks will have to give the same year-end, have the same year-end, and you'll be able to analyze all the banks are from the same period in time. I think that will give a key indicator of where we're going in the banking sector.
Indeed, I guess it's going to give us a very clear sense of who the winners are. When there was a consolidation here in South Africa, I think it was in the early 2000s, what we saw was a move to the bigger, stronger banks. Are we likely to see a similar trend developing in Nigeria?
I think we will. I think generally you will see the bigger, stronger banks taking over some of the smaller banks. But then again, there are some niche players in the sector, such as Diamond Bank and GT Bank, which have focused particularly in certain sectors, like Diamond Bank focusing on SMEs, GT on the corporate sector. And I think those niche banks that have shown a good track record and passed the audit will continue to play significant roles in those niche sectors.
Now, we saw the government coming up with a stimulus package, and some people are suggesting that that will give the market some legs to run on. Just how much stimulus do you think the market is going to try and take out of this?
I think the stimulus package is good. At the moment, because of the bank audit and general economic condition, there's been a bit of a credit squeeze in Nigeria, so stimulus will help. But it depends where the stimulus goes through, because for all indications, stimulus is going to go through the state governments and the local governments and to enter the sector. And the government said they want to use it to improve the transport infrastructure as well as power sectors, which would be interesting. I think one key area the government should address in any stimulus is try and pay local debts. I think if you can pay local debts to contractors who are owed money by the federal government as well as the state governments, I think that will increase liquidity in the system and help get the economy going.
But which sectors do you see, though, profiting from this stimulus package, and perhaps that investors should be looking at?
Power sector and power sector, and also especially the road sector, because those are two sectors the government said that the stimulus will be targeted at. And so if you look at the road sector, and conversely, the construction sector should also do well from contracts going back from that focus on power as well as roads.
So which stocks would those be?
Sorry?
Which stocks would those be? Which companies would those be?
In the construction sector, you got big companies like Julius Berger, JB, which does a lot of government contracts. And the power sector, there are many private companies that are doing a lot of power projects. But linked to that, there are also construction companies like JB again, Kappa and Alberto. Companies are involved heavily in those sectors.
Kayode, thanks very much indeed for joining us this morning. Rydal, this stimulus package from the Nigerian government, when you look at it, this is a government that has already pumped 400 billion shillings into the banking sector, added another 200 billion, so we're talking about 600 billion, and now it comes up with, on top of that, with a stimulus package. Even with oil prices where they are, is this prudent in the current economic circumstances?
Well, I mean, yes, there's justification for putting that amount of money in. The question that I am asking is how effective will this additional funds be? We have seen the government drawing down its excess crude account from 20 billion to around 9 billion, and now they're taking out another 2 billion. That brings the total reduction in that account to around 13 billion US dollars, and that is a lot of money, and I doubt whether we've actually seen the benefits of that money. In fact, that money should have been applied to infrastructure, etc. And I don't think it has happened. The money has gone to the states, local governments, into debt, and a lot of the money seemingly just disappeared, or we haven't seen the end result of that money.